This video is brought to you by our supporters on Patreon. All over the world, cities are trying to make biking safer. But one design that's totally normal in bike utopia, the Netherlands, still causes confusion and even outrage elsewhere. Montreal built a new bike intersection recently and people online were not happy. It's an anti-car labyrinth. Borderline anti-human. A road or an acid trip. All that's missing is an ambulance parked on standby 24/7. Defenders of this disaster? Eco-fascists? Okay, that's enough internet for today. Shut it all down. This is a Dutch-style protected bike intersection. I'll admit it does look a little confusing and weird the first time you see it, but it's completely standard in the #1 cycling country in the world, which I can promise you also has plenty of cars. If you've never tried biking through a normal, unprotected intersection with cars, it can be chaotic, confusing, and conflict-prone, especially if it doesn't have any designs for bikes, and especially those suburban monster intersections. You can have drivers turning across your path when you want to go straight. If you want to go left, do you leave the bike lane to join the left turning lane for cars? Or do you try to do an awkward turn on the other side? Sometimes there's not a lot of space to wait and you worry about crowding out pedestrians. Oh, and do you follow the early walk signal like this or do you wait for the green light for cars? Many intersections are scary for pedestrians, but even more are scary for bikes. Intersections are a common argument from advocates of vehicular cycling, people who oppose bike lanes and think cyclists should act like cars and ride in traffic. There's no ambiguity if you ride in the car lane and follow the script for drivers, they say. Maybe, but riding in traffic sucks, especially heavy traffic. Very few people want to do that. That's just not a recipe for making cycling broadly accessible. There are lots of ways to make intersections more bike-friendly. You can paint a space to wait or turn. You can give cyclists their own light to get a head start on traffic. But most exciting is a complete transformation of the intersection like this. The goal is to give cyclists more space, protection, and predictability. It's basically extending the concept of a protected bike lane through the intersection, instead of stopping right before. You can find these scattered around different cities. We saw a handful in Chicago, here's one in Vancouver, and there are also a few in the Boston area. But most cities don't have these, and those that do usually only have a couple. Most people watching this have probably never seen one in real life. The only non-Dutch city I know of that builds these at scale is Ottawa, which sometimes has protected intersections before protected bike lanes. Even Montreal, which has built a bunch of great bike infrastructure, hasn't really embraced these yet. It's tried out a few smaller, more limited designs, but this is the first standard, full-sized, protected intersection here. The fact that these are still a novelty in most cities is bad. Intersection design is really important. You can't just build bike lanes on the straightaways and call it a day. Here's a pedestrian intersection near a school in Montreal. As part of a bigger traffic calming plan, they built these little islands in the intersection for the kids walking. They help in a few ways. They give kids more space on the sidewalks. They shorten the distance it takes to cross, from 12 meters down to 7. And they make drivers take wider turns, encouraging them to slow down. A protected bike intersection is kind of like this, but it's applied to bikes too, not just pedestrians. It gives bikes more dedicated space in the intersection. The distance to cross is shorter. Bikes spend less time in places where cars can also be. Drivers also have to make their turns wider and slower. This intersection has traffic lights instead of stop signs. Notice how much further back drivers wait to go? Versus pedestrians and bikes, who get a big head start on crossing. That's on top of the traffic signals holding turning drivers for 7 seconds. This is citywide, but Montreal doesn't allow right turns on red either. When that's legal, drivers like to creep up into the crosswalk. The design also gives cyclists predictable ways to do each turn, although not everyone has quite figured out how to turn left yet. To go right, you just roll up and turn right. Watch for pedestrians and other bikes, but you don't have to worry about traffic lights. You're not crossing the path of any cars. To go straight, just keep right around this concrete island. Follow the arrow here once you have a green light. There's actually no bike signal here yet. Not sure if it's coming, but cyclists in Quebec are allowed to follow the pedestrian signal anyway, so we're good for now. Left turns are the one that some people on bikes were confused by. The intention is to do a 2-stage crossing. Go straight, but then turn here and wait for the next light. From above, that's what this person is doing. How did people mess this up? This person leaves the bike lane, barrels down the middle of the road, and then cuts through the crosswalk. Should have done this. This person takes the bike lane in the wrong direction. He did this when he should have done this. That's just one hiccup on the new intersection. Aside from that, everything seemed to work pretty smoothly, even from drivers. Even if you don't understand the reason for the design, obey your traffic signals and don't run into the concrete things should be easy to follow. In rush hour, I was happy to see cyclists do a good job of leaving space for pedestrians. This particular location is the intersection of two bike routes. One sees a ton of bike traffic and moderate car traffic. The other is an arterial with an old two-way bike lane that would weave in and out of parks and side streets, even through children's play areas. It got you across the city but didn't meet the standards we have today. So they're rebuilding it with wide one-way bike lanes all the way down the same street. This is the first standard, full-size, protected intersection in Montreal, but a few other intersections in the past 5 years were heading in this direction. This small intersection was the first test of the concept, I think, back in 2020. This one looks pretty different, but the idea is similar, just with a different intersection configuration. Here's what the awkward intersection looked like just 2 years ago. Many people just biked under the bridge, which was bad for visibility. Over here, they beefed it up with more space and protection for bikes. The idea was to give people room to wait, turn, or pass on through. The other interesting intersection is just down the road from the one covered at the beginning. In 2019, the area looked like this. One two-way bike lane coming down from the north, and another one east-west that awkwardly curled into the park. There just wasn't that much space for bikes here. Then the street was redone to protect the bike lane and create an intersection in the edge of the park. They left this opening here because, in a few years, this two-way bike lane will be expanded into separate one-way bike lanes. Like mentioned before, this isn't exactly the standard protected intersection due to the different street configuration. But it looks great, there's a bunch of space for bikes, and it feels natural and easy to use. The only error I see is that some people are still treating this like a two-way bike lane, which it used to be until a year or two ago. The responses on social media are beyond deranged, obviously, but I can relate to finding protected intersections a little weird the first time I came across them. But once I learned about the goals and got more experience using them, first in Ottawa and then in the Netherlands, they started to feel much more natural and intuitive, to the point that intersections that don't have them start to feel kinda naked. If we really want people to understand how to use them, do you know what we gotta do? Build them everywhere. Frickin' everywhere. Especially larger intersections that can be the most intimidating and dangerous on a bike. In my opinion, protected bike intersections are the #1 type of bike infrastructure that most cities are lacking. At least cities that aren't in the Netherlands and aren't named Ottawa.